Closers 2026 is underway. And if you've already started going to networking events, and maybe you felt a little bit out of sync in the new year, or if you're new to networking and you haven't done this before, and you want to understand the basic fundamentals of what to do, this episode is for you. It's an older episode. I'm bringing it back because the fundamentals that Angie Weidel will walk you through are so good, it will make a difference for 2026 for you if networking is where you're going to drive business. And she will help you build relationships, and she will help you drive more sales, drive more business this year. And the steps are so easy, they're fundamental, and she's going to walk you through each one. So let's get started with the show. Welcome to the Close the Deal podcast. We've got a very special guest with us today. She is a master networker. She's going to walk us through the basic steps of networking and why that is so important. They're simple steps, but they make a huge difference. She is a classically trained singer. I've heard her sing. I was shocked because when you see Angie Weidel is our guest. When you see Angie, she is a tiny lady with a tremendous voice, and she is going to, she will, I've seen her speak at networking events, and she steals the show every time. Angie Weidel, I want to welcome you to Close the Deal. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, my first question, you're in Baton Rouge, based in Baton Rouge. Where do you take somebody for lunch, breakfast, dinner, whatever it is to close the deal?
Easiest answer in the world. It doesn't matter if we're closing a deal or if I'm bringing in people from out of town. Parents.
Ah, yes. What's your
My
favorite? Yes.
favorite place. Gosh, the boudin balls, the raw oysters, the any of it. The
Yeah,
atchafalaya is good. The vermilion's good. Everything's good.
everything's good. That's the great thing about Louisiana food. A good restaurant.
Yeah,
Some of them are so
laid
good.
back. It's laid back. It's chill. And every time I bring people, especially from out of town, they mow it down. It's great.
I love it. All right. Who or what are you grateful for that helped you get you where you are today?
Okay. I got 3 who's and a big what.
Okay.
So my 3 who's are Jesus, couldn't do jack without him. My dad reinvented himself in his early 50s and became an entrepreneur and went from you know, doing one thing, working for other people, and then eventually went into his own business. And he's had everything from feast to famine and everything in between, and still makes it work.
That's
He's
awesome.
still working at 70 something years old, and he's fantastic. So he was the first person that actually said, I think you need to own your own business.
I love it.
The third who is my husband, because he sees everything. And sometimes he kind of acts as my sales manager from time to time. But he's fantastic. He such belief in me and what I can do, and so proud. And then my what is my very oddly eclectic career. I've done everything from film and television to corporate sales to a little bit of, involved in the construction world, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And every good, bad, and ugly experience that I've had, I don't have any regrets. I've taken them all, and they've all put me right square where I am today.
Wow. Yeah, and I've seen you in action. I this is why we're talking right now, because we were networking. Before we get to the name of your company and what you do, what was the problem that you saw in the marketplace? Because you've exited. You are now have your own business, following your dad's footsteps.
Mhm.
What was the problem that you saw, and then how are you helping people solve that problem?
So I opened my company in 2020, and I was seeing the issue, especially, COVID had hit. The phones were becoming a big thing. Everybody's attached to their phones. I have lots of kids. They're young. Not a lot of face-to-face, not a lot of understanding on how to handle face-to-face conversations, conflict negotiation, all of that stuff. Networking was a big one that I saw. A lot of especially the younger generation of salespeople getting out, not really knowing how to read a room, how to talk to people. And so I focused on interpersonal communications in the workplace. I focused on teaching people how to be the best versions of themselves and how to, match the energy that they're looking at, that they're facing, and be able to kind of handle it all, because we learn so differently now in this age of technology. And I also heard a lot of business owners being concerned about AI um and that very thing. I heard a lot of people going, well, these people don't know how to connect. They don't know how to talk to people. How do I get people to my employees to get better at really diving into the customer's needs, or being better even behind the scenes, with coworkers. So my focus is interpersonal communications.
All right, so we got to come back to, and I want you to share the name of the business at the end and the name behind the story, because
Okay.
it buttons everything up nicely.
Okay.
Now I've got these cards in my hand, and
Okay.
I want to walk through the process that you walk. So, folks, I walked into a networking meeting that Angie was part of, my first meeting, and they introduced her to walk people through the process of how to start networking if you've never been to a networking meeting and how important that is. So first talk about why people should be networking, and then we're going to go through these cards one by one.
Okay.
And I've got the cards from the meeting. I saved them and for this moment, and here we are.
So I belong to a networking organization called Go Engaged, GEAUX Engage, all, very Louisiana. And our goal with this is resisting passivity. We want to help people to become better referral partners, and that's the whole purpose of networking. Is you got to be able to talk to people about what it is that you do, but you also have to kind of teach people how to refer you. And if you don't know how to explain what it is that you do in a very short period of time, while you've got their attention, and you're not thinking about, okay, how do I capture their attention? How do I make sure that I'm connecting in the right way? And then also understanding all of those little peccadillos that you're going to bring out in those cards.
Yep.
How do you connect? How do you become real referral partners? Because, there's networking and then there's not working.
Mhm.
And networking is when you're actually being productive and you're meeting people, you're having good one-to-ones, and you're actually making money, which a lot of people feel like is a bad word, but really that's why we go to networking events. If you're not working, you're just there making a bunch of friends. And it's not about getting our emotional and social needs met. It's about getting, those deals, closing those deals, as you like to say, and making sure that that happens. And of course, a sale is not always going to be made in a networking meeting, but the goal is to get to those decision makers. The goal is to create a team so that you're not out there on an island by yourself, just trying to create business for your company, whether you own it or you work for someone else.
Okay, now so let's go. Let's start this process. We
Okay.
got several cards here. The first step in this series is your character, your integrity, your sense of humor.
Yeah. People must know your character, your integrity, and your sense of humor. And that's important because if we don't know each other, and that's kind of based around the concept of know, like, and trust. People do business with people. They don't do business with brick and mortar. So in order for us to really hook into each other's business, I have to know who you are, and are you going to do what you say you're going to do? And sense of humor is real important because some
Mhm.
people are really dry. And again, going back to that whole situation that I was talking about, when you're focused on the phone, a lot of things get misread. And so it's really important for us to get to know each other's, personality, how we laugh, what's funny. Cause, I'm loud. I may
Yeah.
scare somebody at some point. I have a tendency to laugh a lot and smile a lot, and some people might go, "Whoa, that's a lot." But, when people go to refer me, they're gonna go, "Okay, look, she's little, but she might be a little bit loud, and that's okay. Don't be afraid."
The words I use to describe you right after I met you were tiny and a pack of dynamite. All right. You are referables, the second step.
Yeah, people must know that you're referable, and what that means is do you have a service that you can offer to someone? Do you have products that are in the marketplace? If I am selling mostly B2C and I'm in a networking organization with a bunch of people that are B2B, well, then those people may have to go around a wide berth to just try and refer me, or vice
Yeah.
versa. I've been in situations where I've been the B2B person in a B2C type networking event, and they could not, like, I was not referable to them because they couldn't turn to their neighbor and go, "Oh, by the way, have you met Angie?"
Yeah.
It didn't work. So people have to know what it is that you do and if you are in fact referable.
That makes a lot of sense. All right. The third one. Who do you want to serve? That's pretty important.
Yeah,
How many
so
are there?
this one a lot of people kind of are like, "Oh, that's a no-brainer," but really, when it's who do you wanna serve? Because there's another one in there that's kinda similar. The who do you wanna serve, I think of that more as your demographics and your geographics. This is my territory, and I'm looking for businesses of this size, I'm that kind of a broad reach. I
Mhm.
wanna serve, people in the state of Louisiana. I'm looking for businesses from 5 to 50 employees. I'm looking for, that kind of maybe even a title of an office that you're looking for, but really that's very broad. Who you want to serve is very broad.
Two quick things. Number one, I knew I was going to have enough energy later in the afternoon to do this episode with Angie, to have our conversation for this podcast. So I took my AG1 early this morning. It gives me the nutrients and the vitamins, everything I need in one quick scoop. They make it super easy. Visit closethedeal.com. There's a special offer on my page AG1 has for you, where you're going to get 5 free travel packs and a year supply of D3 and K2. The second thing, real quick, my brand new book is out. This is the draft copy with the not for resale, but it is live on Amazon. You can get it on Amazon. A special promotional offer right now on Amazon. Check it out. Go to Amazon and look up Your First Franchise Roadmap. Your First Franchise Roadmap, or I'll have a link in the show notes for this episode. Now, let's get back to the show. By the way, the show notes will be on closethedeal.com. Let's get back to the show. How do you recognize a good prospect for you?
That's the other one that's kind of like that. So the how to recognize a good prospect is more specific. I'm looking for the CEO of XYZ company. That is a good prospect for me. A good prospect is very specific. If you don't have a person's name, then you can say, I need the decision maker at this company in this department or whatever. For example, we were talking just recently, there's some industrial people that were talking about trying to get into BASF. BASF has like 13 different units. Well, what unit are you trying to get in? And are you looking for the purchasing guy? Are you looking for the operations guy? Who are you looking for? Don't just say, "Oh, well, I'm looking to get into BASF." Well, that's more of that who you want to serve. I want to serve BASF. I want to serve those plants. But how to recognize a good prospect is somebody very, very specific. And the more specific you can be, the more likely you're going to get that referral. Somebody's going to know somebody, if not that guy, they're going to know somebody next to that guy in that department.
Gotcha. All right. The next one. How do you talk about you to others?
So
I'm
people,
sorry. How to talk about you to others? Sorry.
right, how to talk about you to others. So, for example, if I am asking you all to refer me, then I'm going to tell you not only about my business, but I'm going to ask you, hey, look, I want you to tell them that I might be a little bit loud, give them some insight into my personality, give
Mhm.
them some clues about how I
Right.
am so they're not surprised.
Mhm.
So I want you to sell me as a person because at the end of the day, they're going to buy me first before they
Mhm.
ever buy my product or my service. So we have to have a close enough relationship and we got to know each other well enough that we can talk about that person. And that goes back to then you can speak to who I want to serve, you can speak to the 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 specific person I'm looking for. And when you're talking to that specific person, you can say, this is what her character's like. This is what her integrity's like. This is her sense of humor. So
Mhm.
get ready.
Yes. I call it
Let's
setting the
build on
stage.
each.
Setting the stage for somebody, for
Yeah.
some work. It's like somebody introducing you on stage, and they're gonna build you up to sing the national anthem, and we're gonna wow everybody. All right. How to make a solid connection.
Okay, so a solid connection is for some people. Look, some people are just looking for a lead.
Mm.
I'm not looking for a lead.
Mhm.
I can go buy leads if I wanted to.
Mhm.
I'm not looking for a lead. So a solid connection for me is an actual introduction, and an introduction is very different than a lead.
Mhm.
I don't want a name and a phone number. I don't want an email address. I want you to send the email if you have to. If that's their best way of communicating, then you send the email introducing me with that person. If their best way to communicate is text, you send a joint text introducing. Or if it's a phone call, make the phone call and then help make that introduction. My personal thing is I want you to take me by the hand and walk me in the door.
Yeah.
You know, if that's ideal for me. I want my friends to come in and say, "Hey, let's have lunch together. I want to introduce you." I'm actually doing this for one of my friends and clients. I told her, I said, "I got a guy I really want you to meet, and I think this would be really great." And so I set up a lunch for the three of us
Mhm.
because I know that that's going to be the best way to solidify that relationship between her and him is if I'm there and we're all kind of talking.
Absolutely, and I'm gonna come back to that because I'm in the process of doing that with a couple people right now.
Yeah.
The
And
value of that.
also, you
Yeah.
know, being a woman in business,
Uh-huh.
that's especially important for me
Yeah.
because I really feel even more protected by my referral partners when they're willing to go with me to lunch.
That's awesome.
I'm not just being hung out with, somebody else that I don't know. And especially if in most of my circles, it's very male dominated. So I would much prefer, especially for my fellas that are wanting to go, hey, let's go have lunch together. That
Mhm.
that makes me feel a lot more comfortable about meeting somebody I don't know. In this case, I'm introducing a woman friend to a male friend. So again, another reason to put us all together was just another layer of just extra. Even though I totally trust the guy, I want her to feel comfortable.
It
Does that
goes a
make
long
sense?
Yeah, it makes all the sense in the world. It goes a long way, and it also accelerates the process of getting to know somebody
Yeah.
just
Oh,
because
yeah.
because it has such a personal touch. I mean, my wi
Right.
I just introduced my wife from a gentleman I actually met at the first Go Engage meeting I went to in Baton Rouge. I just introduced my wife to that gentleman, and, and he was my wife's hard to get,
Yeah.
even for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, "I can't get her." I said, "I know, I that might happen. Let me follow up with her." So,
Right.
but we went through that back and forth, and that's happening now. So,
Yeah.
all right, how you'll reach out to their contact. That's along the lines of what you were just talking about. But
Yeah,
how?
it kinda goes back to, are you gonna email them? Are you gonna call them? What are we doing?
What's the best way? Yeah.
Right. And
Okay.
and how I get a dozen emails every day, so
Sure.
they're gonna get lost.
And
Text me.
the last one here is this is an interesting one. Your confidentiality requirements.
Yeah, confidentiality requirements is kind of a big one because, especially in the, industrial world or the HR world,
Mhm.
a lot of times, we're in a referral relationship. We've been knowing each other for a while. We've been doing one-to-ones. Well, there might be information that you might kind of say to me that is not necessarily for public consumption just yet. Construction is a big one. A lot of times there'll be projects that are out there, and it's like, hey, so and so is our friend, and they're working on this project, and I want to put you in front of them, but this is not something that we can all just have a general conversation about. We're gonna go in and we're gonna do, or you know what? Hey, I've got someone in procurement, but they don't need to be bombarded. And this is not something you can just share with everybody. I'm giving this referral to you. Please don't pass that information, off to anybody. I'm handing it to you because I trust you. So there's just a lot of different levels. Sometimes in banking, you can't always share information like that. You kind of just got to say, hey, I got a buddy who might need some help. I did this with another situation with an attorney that I knew. I was like, hey, I got a guy that might need some help, and just wondering if we could touch base about it. Not. being able to get into details, but
So
you
what
never
I
know what someone's confidentiality requirements are, so ask.
Yes. So, okay, so let's say so folks, y'all just got a sample of what Angie does, and she breaks it down. And when I go to these meetings, you can see I've been in a number of the meetings where you've given this presentation, and people who are new to networking, it's obvious if you've been doing it, but when you have not been doing it, you can see the light bulbs going off around the room, like, oh, yeah, I should be doing that. That
Especially when I make them answer.
Yes, you do. You hold people accountable whether they want to be or not when you call on
Right.
them. You do a great job of that. All right. Blended strategy. That's the name of your business.
Yep.
Talk about the name of the business because I love branding. The story behind the brand in this situation, pretty good, really good. And then the services that you provide and how you help people. And then we're going to go to your call to action because we are what? Shameless hussies. Huh?
Yes, we're shameless hussies, and we're resisting passivity, and we're gonna be a shameless hussy about what we do, yes.
So that's the call
Um,
to action piece. So we'll save that for the very end. But blended strategies, talk about a little bit more of your services, and then talk about the event that you're going to be coaching people on live. Uh,
so, blended strategies, like I said, I formed a company in 2020, after my dad kind of was like, "Okay, you're now laid off from COVID. This is the time. If there was ever a time, this is the time." And I was like, "What am I gonna do? What am I gonna call it?" And my husband was actually the one who came up with a name because of my eclectic background, I've done so many different things. And he's like, "Really, you could do a lot of things. You could consult, which I do. You could train, which I do. You could, teach. And in a situation like this with the networking, you could
mhm.
do outsource of this and outsource of that, which I do." And he was like, "And we're a blended family. We have 7 children between us,
Wow.
ages 25 to 17 at the moment. And now we have our first grandbaby on the way, which
Yes.
we're excited about.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So we have a blended family. We have 6 girls and 1 boy. So, and they're all different kinds of personalities. So blended personalities. And then when I really kind of found the niche of interpersonal communications years ago, I was a sailor coach and I taught DISC a lot. DISC is it's less about personality
Mhm.
and more about communication styles, how you send and receive information. It talks about your energy levels. It talks about whether you're people oriented or task oriented, and just kind of helps people to understand. Okay, man has been trying to understand himself for eons. I mean, there's been, the zodiac was a whole one thing. There was at one point they were defining personalities by bodily fluids. And I don't know if anybody else remembers that, but I do. Sanguine and phlegmatic and melancholic. Um, there's been earth, fire, water, air, there's been all different kinds of ways that people have tried to do that. There have been personalities, there's a lot. I've taken the Enneagram test, I've done Myers-Briggs, I've done all the things, everybody does these things to try to understand why do I do what I do.
Mhm.
And for me, in a professional situation, I saw DISC and its life-changing power when I was teaching it as a Sandler coach. I
Yeah.
saw that it surpassed just the workplace and
Mhm.
it actually went from work into home because people would go, "Oh my gosh, that's my coworker, that's my boss, that's my spouse, that's
Mhm.
my
Mhm. Yeah.
and it started to change conversations that were happening training wise in the workplace that then moved into the home place.
Mhm.
And there's no such thing as work life balance. Let's get real. It doesn't exist. So anything that we can do to learn how to be better communicators at work and at home, especially, and with us, 7,
Mhm. Yeah.
all, and we've got them all at Christmas too. Like we've got all the kids and all the in-laws, my side of the family, Joe's side of the family, and everybody's like piled up in there. And, there's a lot going on. And so, and everybody's kind of got that, thing. And then when I started doing this, I realized, I love DISC and I love what's going on, but I also love Simon Sinek's why.
Yeah.
I love Brene Brown's discussions around vulnerability and courage. Um, I love Chris Voss, the FBI
Yeah.
negotiator. He's got so many great things. Have you given up on this? Would it be ridiculous for me to, I used that on somebody
Yeah.
recently. Would it be ridiculous for me to ask you about this? Um,
Would you be
so,
opposed to it?
and there's a little bit of Dale Carnegie too. So I just felt like, okay, there's nothing new under the sun, and there's always more than one way to skin a cat. And so for me, I just blended everything into all these different, situations. So I use a little bit of Simon Sinek and a little bit of David Sandler, a little bit of Dale Carnegie, a little bit of Chris Voss. And I, hand out, here's the materials. Go read, these things. I'm just the messenger.
Right.
Um,
And
that's
you
it.
coach
I
and you
mean,
coaching him through that process, learning how to do
yes,
your
and I have several businesses that will come to me and say, "Okay, I've got forward-facing employees that do not know how to get out there. Like they just don't get it." And again, this thing
Yep.
has become, and they'd rather be like this
It's a crutch.
or or sending an email because the face to face is difficult. Or I've got the opposite happening where there's a lot going on at work and the people behind the scenes are maybe stepping on each other and they're getting easily offended and easily upset with one another when really if they knew why they themselves acted the way they acted and
Yeah.
then you can recognize that in someone else. And if you're a storyteller like me,
Yep.
and you're talking to somebody who needs facts and figures, well, the goal, the phrase that Zig Ziglar coined is the platinum rule. The golden rule says, okay, we're all, treat others as the way you would want to be treated. And that kind of puts us all in the same boat. So what I would like and how I would like to be communicated with is what you would like.
Mhm.
Well, not to say that scripture is incorrect because it's not, but the next step then that Zig Ziglar talked about was the platinum rule. And
Mhm.
that is you need to treat others and communicate with others in ways that are meaningful to them.
Yes.
If you're going to really make a connection and your goal is to serve others, especially when we talk about referral networks and networking, well, then you have to learn how you communicate so that you can better communicate with other people in a way that's meaningful to. And that can't be done if you don't understand how you do what you do and why, and then be able to recognize that person's different than me. It's not that they're mad at me or offended with me. It's just they just send and receive information differently. So there's a lot that goes into that. And again, that comes into play with spouses and kids and siblings and aging parents and all of it.
Well, across the board, you got the day-to-day practice at home
Yeah.
with an army of people, and of course, the practice extends to work. We're gonna button up there, but July 18th, you got something coming up. Talk about that real quick, because
Yeah. July 18th at Restoration One. Um, my buddy Chris Tepfer, who is also kind of founded Go Engage, um, really he founded it
yep,
and I just kind of jumped in with him. Um, and he and I kind of work really well together as foils. He's got a very dry sense of humor, and then there's me.
yeah,
So, we teamed up together because we saw inside Go Engage and, this inability for some people to be able to actually concisely and easily say what it is that they do in an elevator pitch. So, we have an elevator pitch class that we're gonna be teaching
that is July 18th. I'm gonna
July
make it to
18th.
that. I want to hear that. I'm gonna tell you why. I'm used to speaking in front of a large audience, small, big, TV, not TV, you name it. I'm very comfortable with that. I came into this side of the world running trade associations. When you run trade associations, the world comes to you.
Right.
When you become a consultant or go out on your own, now you're going, and if you own a business or a franchise like Restoration One, you're going out to the world.
Yep.
So to consolidate everything you would normally say in 10 minutes or 20 minutes, my head explodes when I'm given 1 minute. I stumble over myself. I'm very comfortable doing this. We could talk for another 30 minutes and we could
Right.
keep going and going and going. But give me 1 minute, that's tough. That's what you're going to coach people on how to do on July 18th
Right.
at Restoration One. And where can they find that information? This is the call to action for your website and where they can find this information to come to the training.
Yep. blendedstrategiesllc.com, and you'll see the Eventbrite link for the elevator pitch class on July 18th at Restoration One of East Baton Rouge. I think they're on Cloverland in
Well,
Industrialplex.
Well, we will have the link to your website in the show notes. We will have the link for any other information. Well, we're going to send them to your website. They're going to go to your website to get further information and to get in touch with you. blendedstrategiesllc.com. That's correct. Okay. We will have that domain inside the show notes as well, folks. Angie, one parting word of advice to someone. You made the transition, not an easy transition, going out on your own. What's that piece of guidance? I want people to realize their potential. What's that piece of guidance so they can see the possibilities?
Wow. I think the biggest thing is you have to tap into your passion. Because if you're not passionate about what you do, you won't get out and push.
Yeah.
And that goes back to finding your why, setting your boundaries, figuring out what your core values are. It took me a hot minute to figure out what those core values were. I thought I had them and then realized I didn't. And when I started to put those pieces together, my why became not I have to put food on the table, or I got to feed all these kids, or I've got weddings and grandbabies and graduations in college. Everybody has. So your why has to be different. Mine is next to construction, people are the one building that will outlast the builder.
Wow.
So if Maya Angelou is correct and people will forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel,
Yep.
then have that level of impact, whatever it is. And for me, that's helping people understand how to better communicate, period. If you don't have that why, you're not going to push.
That's what that is where we end. This is perfect. Angie, I want to thank you for being on the Close the Deal show. Folks, I'm going to have all that information in the show notes. Angie, this has been a great journey with you. Appreciate it. Appreciate your passion because it screams. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that very much.
All right. Thank you. And that is a wrap with Angie. I absolutely adore her. I love the energy that she brings. Folks, networking is everything. And what we talked about toward the end about networking is so true. It's a skill. It's a practice skill. It's a perishable skill. If you're not out there on the playing field, it's face to face. It's body to body. It's a contact sport. Networking, that's a great way to put it. Networking is a contact sport, and you got to get in the game to have success with it. And it starts building those relationships, starts building those referrals. And you have to be a shameless hussy. I'll explain that a little bit further. The shameless hussy is meaning you're there for one thing, and that's to build relationships, connect with folks, build those relationships, and ask for a referral, and then meet that referral and hopefully ask for business. Being a shameless hussy. I'm going to leave that in. I was going to edit that out. We're going to go with that, folks. All right. I want you to do me a couple favors. One, like, share, all those things. We want to get the word out. If you're on Spotify or Apple, please leave 5 stars. And you know the drill. Be intentional and make today a great day. All right. Take care. Bye.